The sun came up today, but
Barely.
it barely came up today. Welcome into Mavericks Today. He's Jeffrey Cooperstein. I'm Harrison Graham. It is the morning after that dreadful Game 1 performance by the Dallas Mavericks. And so on today's show, we're going to explore a few areas in which the Mavericks need to improve at if they want to win Game 2 and bring this thing to 1-1 coming back to the American Airlines Center on Friday. Game 2, of course, is tomorrow night. We're going to dive into those things here in just a moment. But thank you guys so much for helping us reach 26,000 subscribers. It's a rough watch party. It wasn't fun, but we appreciate everybody that tuned in and hung out with us for 4 quarters. We're going to do it again tomorrow night. We would love for you guys to spread the word, get more Mavs fans in there. Hopefully we get a better game, and it'll be a better time. But if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We got you covered on a daily basis. All right. It sounds just kind of like JV-ish, Coop, but you got to be ready to go in Game 2. There's no question about it.
It was an absolute embarrassment that this team, for 24 minutes of a playoff game, were not ready to play. And I don't care. You can say they practiced all week. You can say that they had a game plan or whatever. The facts are the facts. They did not come out ready. Kyrie Irving said as such after the game. He said they weren't prepared to match their physicality. How is that possible? How is this team not prepared to match physicality after how well they played in the last 20 games of the season? And Daniel Gafford said the same. He's like, I have to be better. I wasn't ready to go. How are you not ready to go? Like, thanks for admitting it, but it's unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, when 2 of your core players come out and say, we just were not ready to play, I mean, that's all you need to know, right? Like, it's kind of twofold. Like, I appreciate that they came out and said it, but I'm also just like, I'm with you. I'm like, how does that happen? Like, you weren't in the playoffs last year. For a guy like Daniel Gafford, who's never played in a meaningful game in his career, essentially, how is he not balls to the wall going 100 miles per hour? Like, I just don't understand. And that was my biggest frustration yesterday, Coop, is that, look, you have a bad shooting game. That happens. Like, they were dreadful from the field in the first half.
Awful.
Like, that happens. But what I cannot accept is just not only not matching their energy, but just like getting pummeled energy-wise. They were a step slow on everything. Like Kyrie said, we didn't match their physicality. And it'd be one thing if, like, in the first 5 or 6 minutes you got punched and then you responded. You didn't really respond until the third quarter when you're down 26 and it's too late. So that's unacceptable. And quite frankly, Coop, like, I don't think there's anything that could happen that would ever make it acceptable, but it's one of those where it's like, all right, man, you had your one game where you just didn't show up. That can happen again in the playoffs. You don't get multiple of those and expect to advance in the NBA postseason. These teams are just too good.
And if you didn't watch the game and you looked at the box score, you would say, wow, the Mavs played pretty well in the second half and they made a game out of it. Not really, because it was a 26-point game. I think they went down as much as 28, so it was never really a game in that second half, despite the Mavs playing a little bit better. And frankly, on defense, they played well for about 3 quarters, but the offense and defense, for that matter, was so bad in the first quarter and a half that it really didn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, they still gave up 30-plus in the first and third quarters, so, I would argue they had a good defensive second quarter, and in the fourth, it's like, sure, it was better, but the game's over by then. So, like, I don't know how much I value that. Look, you held them to 109, cool, but, like, the game was over 24 minutes in.
The Clippers played at 80% in the second half. And I do want to make this clear, by the way, the blame is on everybody. It's on Jason Kidd, it's on Luka and Kyrie, it's on Gafford. Everyone takes their part in the blame for not being ready to play. I mean, I can't believe it happened in a playoff game. I'm still beside myself.
In a 4 or 5 series, when you're the betting favorite and you're on the road and you finish the season strong and they don't have their best player, to just get whacked like that is just shocking. I mean, to be honest. I mean, you know what the game flow reminded me of? It reminded me of, you're going to find this funny, it was Game 1 of Mavericks Thunder several years ago, but, like, the Mavericks were severely undermanned.
The one that the Mavericks won in 2015?
They won Game 2.
Oh,
they lost Game 1 by like 40.
Correct.
And that night I remember thinking, well, you just don't have the horses to run with these boys. That's not the case here. The talent level is pretty even. And again, they didn't have Kawhi Leonard, and you just got hit for 4 quarters and you never really responded. So who do you blame for the Game 1 loss? I don't think you can pinpoint it on one person. And if it's everyone, I do think it kind of does have to start on the top with the head coach. So I think Jason Kidd's under a microscope heading into Game 2. Obviously, it's up to the players to bring the energy level, but it's up to Kid to decide what those X's and O's
No question about it.
adjustments are, because I don't think you can have the same game plan for game 2 and just be like, well, let's just play harder and we'll win this time. I don't think that's a resolution.
Yeah, we'll get to some game planning stuff here in a second, but another reason why this was just an unacceptable performance is their best player missed game 1, and he still might miss game 2.
Yeah, no update yet, but as of yesterday, he had not gone through contact, and if I'm the Clippers and I watched how game 1 went, I'd probably just let game 2 go and give him that extra day of travel rest before game 3, because even if you lose it, if you're the Clippers, it's not really the end of the world. Like, if you're the Clippers and you were told, hey, we'll get a split with Kawhi out and he'll be ready for game 3, you'd probably take that.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to hold him out for game 2. Maybe that changes, but if we get an official update later, we'll throw a short up on the channel. So be looking for that. We'll talk some kind of X's and O's, more adjustments in a moment, but we are sponsored by our friends over at Prize Picks. And I got to be honest, Prize Picks was the only thing getting us through the 4 quarters, because we had a 3-player entry that was right on track to hit. We barely missed it as Luka Doncic's points, rebounds, and assists came up half a really just number short, just needed 1 more point, rebound, or assist. But we're back at it. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. The Dallas Stars have their game 1 tonight. Hopefully they fare better. As Jake Ottinger, we like the more than 25.5 saves for Mr. Ottinger. James Robertson, we think he finds a point in this one. And then William Carlson will go less than half a point. We're kind of going with the good vibes pick here, as we need a Dallas playoff team to respond. The Cowboys got whacked a few months ago. Dallas in game 1 got whacked. Hopefully the Stars change that momentum here. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS. Pick more, pick less. 2 to 6 player entries. Major League Baseball, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, other sports as well. It's all available. You can change your lineup daily. It's fun. Get going with Prize Picks today. Link is in the comments and description. That code CLNS gets you a deposit match up to $100. All right, number 2. Obviously, apparently it's easier said than done, but Ivica Zubac cannot just bully you. Like, 20-15, Coop. I mean, one thing going into this series, well, 2 things we said were different this time around against the Clippers. 1, to steal Luka Doncic's words, we have Kyrie Irving's here this time, a legitimate sidekick for Luka. 2, Ivica Zubac going up against Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber, and Boban Marjanovic versus Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. You would like your chances a lot better to at least slow him down. Career high in points in the postseason, 20. And by the way, this I really can't get over, Coop. 15 rebounds. You know how many Daniel Gafford had? 0. How is that possible? If that happens again, Daniel Gafford's going to have to go to the bench. I know we said yesterday, Coop, that I know you've said you would make the switch to Derek Lively. I was kind of with you yesterday. I woke up today. I slept on it. I thought about it more. Gafford owned that he wasn't ready to go. I'm not making that switch just yet. I would keep Gafford in the starting lineup. This team played a lot better when they made that change. I can't overreact to one game, but I'll tell you what, man. If it's more of the same, you're going to have to make an adjustment and make one quickly. And by the way, just because you're keeping Gafford in there doesn't mean you don't adjust.
Correct.
Like,
Absolutely.
I'm just not changing the starting 5 just yet.
I can't believe we were fooled into this again. We thought that they would have an answer for Zubac this time around, and in the first game of part 3, they clearly didn't, because he had the best game of his playoff career. I am so tired of this guy beating the Mavericks. It is unbelievable how many times he has hurt them, and I am absolutely tired of it. Look, and I'll give this to Daniel Gafford. He will not play worse than he did on Sunday. I just don't see it happening. 3.0 rebounds?
I mean, yeah.
It won't happen. They need these guys to play better, man. For all that Maxi Kleber, I know Maxi Kleber's going to play. I know he frustrates everyone, including myself, including Harrison. He's going to play. They need him to be better. They need their bigs to be how they were the last 20 games of the regular season. They made a point to overhaul their bigs in the offseason and at the trade deadline. and it did not pay dividends in Game 1. Hopefully it does in Game 2.
Yeah, I'm hoping Lively knocks some of that rust off. He hadn't played in about 3 weeks. I mean, that's a tough ask to come in there in his first playoff
No question.
game. But Gafford got bullied. Kleba's not strong enough to guard him one-on-one, so they're going to have to throw different looks at him. Maybe you go to an occasional zone, which it's crazy to think you're going to have to alter your defense potentially for Ivica Zubac. But, I mean, if I'm the Clippers, I'm playing inside out to start game 2.
You go to that. You go to him until it's proven that he doesn't have it.
Because guess what? If the Mavs start trapping there, he's just going to find shooters.
And the Clippers can shoot it.
And that's going to be a problem. I think what you got to do if you're Dallas, whether it's Gafford or Lively or whoever, you've got to force that catch to be further away from the basket. I thought he was making those post catches way too close. Couple dribbles, kind of use the body to bully him, and then he's getting that little baby hook from 4 or 5 feet. That's cash for him. You cannot allow that. So you got
don't let this guy beat you, man.
It just can't happen. I mean, it's disgusting behavior. And then really as a whole, but especially offensively, Coop, you got to find a third guy. And we talked about coming into this series. We know Luka and Kyrie are going to score, and I'm not saying they had the best games ever because they didn't. Luka was, I think, 11 of 26. Kyrie was 10 of 18. He was really good in the third quarter, but again, the game was out of reach at that point. They obviously do have to be better. There's no question about it. But someone is going to have to run with these boys. Like, it can't be Luka and Kyrie go get us 70 every night and just drag us across the finish line. Like,
those guys
got to get more.
Yeah, those guys had 64. Luka had 33. Kyrie had 31, and the rest of the team had 33. So they've got to find somebody to give them. I don't know what the number is, but it has to be more than what it was.
And look, if it's two to three guys who give you 8 to 15 points, that's fine. But
and Washington ended up with 11, but a lot of those were garbage time points.
5 were in the fourth quarter when the game
matter.
was over. He had 6 through 3 quarters on 2 of 7 shooting, finished 4 of 11. Like, somebody is going to have to give you some consistency here, and we'll see who it is. Dante Exum didn't give you much yesterday.
No.
Derrick Jones, I thought he played some good defense on Paul George, and look, if Derrick Jones is going to play good defense on George, I don't think you can expect that guy to be a consistent scorer offensively. I think that you're asking too much out of his just skill set overall. So one of these other three of Washington, Exum, and Hardaway, and I get Washington too. Like, he's having to defend a lot too, but you're paid to be that guy, man. Like, you're making almost $20 million per year. You got to produce on both ends. So, he's going to have to give you some scoring at some point.
They had a prime chance yesterday to win Game 1 in the opposing team's building without their best player. And frankly, they let it slip. So the margin of error has significantly reduced. And it was just extremely frustrating. But tomorrow's a new day. I think you don't watch much film at all from this game. You go to practice. You practice hard today. And make sure you're ready to go tomorrow, because you cannot have what happened in the first 16 minutes of that game happen again. It can't happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, the bottom line is this. If you win Game 2 and go back to Dallas 1-1, I'm not saying it erases the ineptitude of Game 1, but at the end of the day, when you're on the road for the first 2 games, if you get a split, you'll take it. You would have liked to have a chance to win both with Kawhi out, but I think we would sign up for a split coming into the series, and obviously now we absolutely would after that Game 1 performance. So we'll see. Pressure's on Dallas. There's no question about it. It's pretty pressure-free if you're the Clippers, especially if Kawhi doesn't go.
House money for them, yeah.
We'll see how it goes. And
9 p.m. tip tomorrow. We'll be live on the channel, as Harrison said earlier, so be sure to join us for that as well. If you want to see Mr. Rantman myself, you can have fun. Come with us.
Coop was bringing the heat, especially in the first half when things were absolutely disastrous. All right, let us know who you got in Game 2. DAL for the Mavericks, LAC for the Clippers. Hopefully the Mavs bounce back, and we will see you guys tomorrow night for Game 2 of Mavericks Clippers.
Go Mavs.